not human. It's not a human. The face is here at first, but
It's scratching the ground. Oh no, no freaking way, man. That was the ground. Oh.
Some Bigfoot encounters stay at a distance while others move dangerously close. One figure rises beside a frozen river, and another unseen presence strikes a camper's tent after answering from the mountains. Were these ordinary animals staged encounters or something still hiding in the wilderness? The Calgary family sighting was recorded in January 2014 outside Calgary, Alberta. A father was spending a clear winter afternoon walking beside a frozen river with his young children. Sunlight flashed across the ice, and their breath was visible in the frigid air. Temperatures hovered near the freezing point. Sections of the river were sealed beneath ice, while dark water continued flowing slowly below. Snow crunched underfoot as daylight started fading, casting long shadows from leafless trees across the distant bank. The family had followed this path on earlier outings. Nothing about that afternoon seemed unusual. It felt like a normal winter stroll, the sort of moment that would usually end peacefully and soon disappear from memory.
Look. A human. That's not human. It's not a human. The face is here at first.
While watching his children, the father occasionally glanced toward the opposite side of the river. He first spotted a low shape close to the trees across the water. Believing it could be a deer resting beside the vegetation, he started filming almost without thinking, assuming he would capture an ordinary piece of wildlife footage. Instead, the recording reveals something unusual. On the far bank, a rust-colored figure appears, crouched behind a downed tree. Much of its body is concealed, yet it seems to recognize that the family has seen it. Using an older camera, the father zooms the lens to its maximum range. As the image sharpens, the shape appears massive, broad through the shoulders and coated with hair, unlike the coloring of local deer or bears. Then the figure stands. This movement is what makes the footage harder to disregard. One of its arms extends extremely low, dropping well beyond the length expected from a person. When the figure pivots away, that limb swings in a slow, weighted arc. It proceeds toward the trees with an even measured stride, vanishing into the undergrowth without showing any urgency. The uploader explained that the father and children had watched the shape rise onto two legs after remaining crouched while they came closer. He began filming once he understood that the object beyond the river could not be identified easily. The sound recording increases the unease. The father's breathing quickens while the family's response feels immediate rather than staged. Because the clip dates to 2014, it was also captured years before modern AI-generated video technology became available. The most striking details are the creature's apparent scale, its extended arms, and how calmly it retreats from view. The family shows no obvious signs of performing. They only stand there and watch until the figure is gone. Once it disappears, the scene becomes quiet again. Water continues beneath the ice. The trees remain motionless. Whatever appeared before the family never emerges again. Whether the shape was an unfamiliar animal, a disguised person, or something more difficult to identify, the footage leaves one lingering mystery from that cold January afternoon there. What exactly did they witness on the opposite bank? A trekker in British Columbia described a strange daylight encounter while traveling through an isolated, heavily wooded region. The witness said a short figure appeared farther ahead, moving slowly from one tree to another. Based on its proportions and the way it walked, the trekker suspected it could have been a young Bigfoot. While watching the figure, the witness managed to capture a very brief recording. The video shows it crossing through the remote forest for several seconds before vanishing farther among the trees. This segment carefully examines the report, the limited footage, and the unidentified shape possibly recorded on camera during that afternoon. Although the video lasts only a few moments, its setting movement and sudden appearance make the sighting hard to dismiss. What exactly did the trekker encounter in those British Columbia woods? A traveler hiking through an isolated area of Alaska described an unusual daylight sighting inside a forest covered with snow. The witness said they noticed a small figure resembling a young Sasquatch weaving among the trees. Startled by the unexpected scene, the hiker immediately began filming, while the shape crossed the white ground and moved between the trunks. The recording captures the figure only briefly before it continues deeper into the remote landscape and vanishes from sight. Once the video appeared online, viewers started arguing over what had been recorded. Some examined the figure's height and walking pattern, while others wondered if it was simply an ordinary animal viewed from far away. Although the footage lasts only moments, it raises one obvious question: what exactly was traveling through that frozen Alaskan woodland during that unusual daytime encounter? The following footage comes from Man Dog Wild, a British channel centered on bushcraft and survival in wilderness. Its videos follow solo camping journeys through isolated woodlands and mountainous landscapes featuring tarp setups, nights away from civilization and outdoor survival, filmed as it happens with the creator's dog nearby. The recording dates to December 3, 2024, in an unidentified backcountry location.
Camp tonight, but it's not lightweight because of all the water and dog food and the sleep system we're using tonight. It's just, there's no point in laying it out this early. We don't want that, so it's coffee time.
Reaching the campsite had been difficult. His backpack was heavy, carrying water along with food and supplies for the dog, and the load made the hike exhausting before camp was established. After examining the surroundings, he selected an exposed viewpoint overlooking the woods and the mountain range. It offered little protection for the night, but it allowed him to see clearly in all directions. His sleeping spot remained uncovered with almost no barrier separating him from the landscape beyond. For some time, everything remained calm. Then, a noise traveled up from the slope. The dog noticed it before he did. Her body suddenly became rigid, her focus fixed on something beyond the campsite, and she refused to move.
It's up there. Yeti. Oh, good. Oh, she's disappeared now. Cool. So we heard a noise, and Yeti starts growling, and there was some eye shine at the top of the hill looking down at us.
It was the first indication that something nearby felt wrong. Not long afterward, what may have been eye shine appeared on elevated ground above them. There was no visible body and no definite motion, only a weak reflection in the distance that remained visible briefly before disappearing. The dog then reacted in an unusual way. Rather than approaching the unseen source, she moved backward. That behavior seemed abnormal. Dogs generally do not withdraw from something that only interests them. Her response suggested she wanted to increase the space between herself and whatever was present.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was DC, because she knows this area pretty well now. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, and Yeti's taken off, so maybe it is DC, but I think she would have approached. Maybe it was a fox. Don't see too many foxes there.
Additional noises soon came from the opposite hillside. Vegetation moved. A branch or object cracked beneath something's weight, Soft movement continued in the darkness. Nothing became visible, yet the sounds persisted, suggesting something remained nearby and continued traveling among the trees. The disturbing part is not one isolated detail, but the sequence, the initial noise, the dog's behavior possible, eye shine, and continued movement afterward. Animals rarely avoid something that causes only curiosity. Whatever occupied that slope made the dog choose retreat instead. What do you believe was observing them from above? Operating in the United States. Exploring with Bear is a solo backcountry camping channel focused on overnight trips inside isolated wooded areas. Its footage is unpolished and handheld, preserving sound from remote places that are occasionally linked to regional cryptid legends. On April 6, 2026, the creator camps alone, somewhere in the Smoky Mountains of the United States.
That sounded like a knock. That was another knock. No frickin' way, man.
He projected vocalizations into the dark woods and listened. Knocking answered almost at once. That response immediately made him pause. The sounds did not seem fixed in one location. They came from multiple points along the tree line, creating the impression that something was changing positions beyond the camp.
It's bigger than I thought it was. That was decently big. That just stepped and broke a twig. It's somewhere down in that thicket of mess. Oh my goodness. What if I already come up on a bear? Or Bigfoot? A wood booger? That was a big snip bridge. I just heard it move again. What?
He repeated the attempt, and the result remained the same. After another call, knocks echoed back from the slope. That repeated exchange made the situation feel different. A single knock might be dismissed easily. When the identical pattern returned several times,
In the tent. And it just started raining. And I'm deep in the Smoky Appalachian Mountains on an abandoned road. Oh boy. I get my bag in the tent. That's it.
however, it begins to seem less accidental and more like an intentional reply. The noises then shifted. Whistling carried across the mountains, followed soon afterward by a low growl from beneath the ridge. Its timing seemed significant because it occurred immediately after he responded to the surroundings.
No frickin' way. Oh, there it was. It said it again. No way, man. No frickin' way. Did you hear that? These mountains are ridiculous. That said hell. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, this is so spooky, man. Alright, so this is what I want. I want you guys that have knowledge and experience of Appalachia. What kind of crazy experience?
Almost as though an unseen presence had answered him. Another sound later separated itself from everything heard before. From farther down in the forest came a noise unlike anything else nearby. It sounded similar to a human voice. Nothing responsible became visible, and no movement could be identified. Yet it did not resemble wildlife wind or breaking wood. It appeared to be spoken sound.
It's scratching. It's scratching the ground. Oh no, no frickin' way, man. That was a growl. Oh, it just growled. It's growling.
Whatever remained outside then moved nearer. Scraping began directly beyond the tent. A growl followed beside the fabric wall. The separation had disappeared. The source was no longer distant among the trees. It now seemed positioned immediately outside with only the tent material between them. The tent was then hit from outdoors. That moment completely altered the encounter. The activity was no longer limited to unexplained noises in the woods. Something had physically contacted the campsite. Everything progressed in the same direction throughout the night. Faraway knocks, approaching movement, vocal noises, and finally contact with the tent. Nothing ever became visible. By sunrise, the forest had fallen silent, leaving the experience supported only by the sounds recorded there. What separates this incident is its steady escalation. Every stage seems closer than the one before, while random noises gradually become responses that appear deliberate. A growl directly beside the tent and an impact from outside are difficult to dismiss. What do you believe traveled through those mountains during the night? That's it for tonight. Which moment creep? Drop it in the comments. Have your own story. Share it with us, and stay tuned. The next one is even darker.